Hello friends, how are you? Hope you are doing well. So today our topic starts from the continuation with the last discussion. Next question is, what is the meaning of climate change? Climate change refers to the long-term shifts in the temperatures and weather patterns. And this is because of natural and anthropogenic activities also. So these natural and anthropogenic activities have been the main drivers for the climate change. So primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas, and which produces heat trapping gases which we call greenhouse gases. Then we have the long-term effects of the climate change include, like examples are ice melt, ocean warming, sea level rise and ocean acidification. On the time scale of centuries, the magnitude of climate change will be determined primarily by anthropogenic CO2 emissions, and this is due to CO2's long-term atmospheric lifetime. Then next is about what is the meaning of greenhouse gas. Greenhouse gas is a gas which absorbs and emits radiant energy. Which type of radiant energy? Which is within the thermal infrared range and causing the greenhouse gas effects. So the primary greenhouse gas in Earth's atmosphere are water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, perfluorocarbons, halocarbons and ozone. Next is, what is the meaning of net zero? Net zero refers to the balance between the amount of greenhouse gas which is being produced and the amount which is removed from the atmosphere. So we reach net zero when the amount we add is not more than the amount which we are taking away. So we can say measures to lower the emissions, for example, invest in the green technology, plus measures to remove emissions, which, for example, forest expansions, and direct air captures, which will equal to the net zero. So which is nothing but the balance between the amount of GHG produced and removed from the atmosphere. Now, what is the meaning of green economy? A green economy is an economy that aims at reducing the environmental risk. So basically we are investing in the protection of our environment and reducing the ecological scarcities and stresses, and that aims for sustainable development without degrading the environment. So it is closely related with the ecological economics but has a more politically applied focus as well. So we say that green economy is equal to the low carbon growth plus resource efficiency plus social inclusion, and that's called the sustainable development as well. The next topic is about circular economy. What is circular economy? Circular economy is a concept or a model of production and consumption which involves some practices like sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing and recycling existing materials and the products as long as possible. So that aims at tackling global challenges like climate change, biodiversity loss, waste and pollution. So circular economy, that's a business model or it's a concept of production and consumption which involves some of the key actions like reusing, reform, reduce, recycle, refuse. So these are certain practices which are used in circular economy. Then we see a next topic of what is the meaning of sustainability management. Sustainability management has been created to be defined as the application of sustainable practices in the category of business, agriculture, society, environment and the personal life by managing them in a way that will benefit current generation and future generation as well. So we see sustainability indices, which are the instruments to measure the responsibility of a certain company in social, environmental areas and even economic areas also. So the more the sustainable indices take these aspects into account as they develop their business, and the higher the score they will obtain for the sustainability indices. So some of the examples for sustainability indices are strategic commitments, safety performances, social responsibility, value chain management, sustainability innovation, product stewardship, and the environmental performance. Then we see one of the common topic for discussion and the questionnaires as well, that is called ESG program. What is the meaning of ESG program? ESG program is nothing but it's a strategic plan which the companies are developing. So an ESG program in place helps the companies to boost brand recognition and even promotes the brand loyalty as well. So today's consumers and clients are increasingly aware about the ethical spending and care about what a company does to support the sustainability. So in the ESG strategic program or ESG program, we started with the materiality assessment. We go for baseline studies, current state baseline basically, and we go for objective and goal setting, then future state gap analysis as well. And then we define the strategic roadmap for ESG implementations or ESG criteria implementations. And to have the effective and successful monitoring and measurement, we need to design certain KPIs and accordingly take some actions to record and monitor and record the data related to these KPIs. And then we further report the report of the progress with respect to the ESG indicators. We see there are a lot of examples of the ESG scorecards, ESG balance scorecards, ESG report cards, KPI report card, ESG dashboards. These are the platforms where we are presenting the ESG KPIs and their progress as an example. What is the meaning of stakeholder engagement, ESG stakeholder engagement? ESG stakeholder engagement is how a business exchanges the information and dialogues on topics that impact the business, its employees, customers, investors, suppliers, trade groups, regulators, non-governmental organizations and NGOs, public health and welfare, and the planet. So to have effective stakeholder engagement, we design certain matrices. For an example, stakeholder engagement assessment matrices, where we identify and prioritize the stakeholders based on the influence and interest, two factors basically, interest and influence. So we identify the different stakeholders and prioritize these stakeholders based on their influence and interest. What is the meaning of ESG materiality assessment? It's an exercise, it's an evaluation process where we are identifying and assessing potential environmental, social governance issues. Those impact the business and the stakeholders as well. So ESG industry materiality map is a representation of the current key ESG issues and their contribution to the company's ESG ratings or scoring. So it's a part of our ESG rating transparency initiatives through which we can make ESG ratings of the companies and funds accessible to the public as well. So that's how we say that we are displaying that information or publishing that information in the public domain, so anybody can access that information. There is one more important concept here, which is called what is the double materiality principle. So double materiality. So it's a principle in which investors tend to define the materiality issues as any factor which might have a present or future impact on companies, their value drivers, competitive positions, and thus on long-term shareholder value creation as well. So long-term value creations, we can say. Applying double materiality is an essential tool to ensure that organizations consider the right topics in their materiality assessments, and which in turn we can say this is essential to properly build the sustainability strategy or ESG strategy and communicate with the stakeholders on the company's non-financial performance. That's why this double materiality principle is important for us. We talk about how we say the materiality ESG issues are impacting companies' financials. So, material ESG issues can impact a company's financial sheets in the following areas like revenues, the cost, and the cost of the capital. How do we identify these materiality issues? So, these materiality issues, as per the GRI, we say Global Reporting Initiative (GRI), which describes a four-step process in which a company can determine the materiality issues. So, as per the four-step process, we go one by one. We go for understanding the organizational context. Okay, then we go for identification of actual and potential impacts associated with the activities and business functions of the company, for which we are engaging the relevant stakeholders and the experts to get their feedback and to identify the impacts. And we go for due diligence audits as well, due diligence programs also. The third one is about assessing the significance of that impact. We go for some assessment methodologies like qualitative and quantitative. So we identify and assess the significance of the impacts. And finally, we go for the prioritization of the most significant impacts for the reporting, for which we set some threshold limits, and we prioritize the materiality topic and list those materiality topics actually. Now, what is the meaning of ESG strategy? As I said, ESG strategy is defined as a business model that emphasizes on sustainable development. So all businesses seek profits, but in today's scenario, the investors, shareholders want to see businesses making profits to make the world a better place as they generate those profits actually. So what are the steps to develop the ESG strategy? First of all, we are conducting a materiality assessment. Then we go for the baseline identification, the baseline studies, establish the baseline. We go and set the ESG goals. Then we analyze the performance gaps, and after that analysis of the performance gaps what we have identified, we go for creating a ESG strategic plan actually. And according to ESG strategic plan, we implement that plan and measure the KPIs associated to it. And then lastly, we can say we perform regular ESG reporting as well. Why this ESG strategy important for us? ESG strategy is increasingly seen as the measure of sustainability and resilience in the organization, and the criteria are progressively being used to inform strategic goals, operational execution, and the reporting of sustainable business practices to key stakeholders and the customers. So there are certain processes or screening processes which we utilize in the ESG strategy, like ESG integration, exclusionary investments, inclusionary investment screening process, impact investments. These are certain examples of ESG screening process. That's all for now. Thank you very much, and we will continue in the next session our discussion. Thank you.